Hello everyone, welcome to the video tutorial series of the web development. I am your instructor Varsha Tak. Let's start our today's lecture. So at the end of this video, you will be able to learn about the CSS selector. Okay, so today we will learn about the different types of CSS selectors, how we can apply the style to the different selectors, which are the different ways. Okay, so let's see this. So let's see CSS selector. In CSS, in Cascade and Style Sheet, selectors are used to target the HTML elements on our web pages that we want to style. So to whatever the element you want to define the style sheet, so for that you can define the different types of CSS selectors. A CSS selector is a first part of the CSS rules. Okay, so it is a part of the CSS rules. It is a pattern of the element and the other terms that tell the browser which HTML element should be selected to have the CSS property values inside the rule applied to them. Okay, so which type of rule we have applied in the CSS selectors that will be affected when the web browser, when this practical will be executed in the web browser. Okay, so that we can define in that style, and that for that we can define the different types of CSS selectors. The element or elements which are selected by the selector are referred to as a subject of the selector. Okay, so they are referred as a subject of the selector. Which subject is that to select the such type of styles for that particular element? There are a wide variety of the CSS selectors are available. Now here you can see the different types of CSS selectors are there. Okay, first one is the element selector. Okay, so directly we can apply it to the element name. So you should have to write the element name whenever you are writing the CSS type. Then next one is the ID selector. You can define one ID for that. Then next one is the class selector. So you can define the class name. Then universal selector, that means you should, if you want to apply the style to each and every selector, the same style if you want to apply for each and every selector. So at that time you can use the universal selector. For example, the whatever the content you have written in your browser, in your HTML document that should be displayed in the browser, that should be in the bold, that should be in the center. Okay, so for that you can write the universal style also. Then next one is the grouping selector. For example, to some of the elements you want to apply the same style. So at that time you can define this grouping selector. So let's see the selector one by one. First one is the element selector. The element selector selects the HTML element by name. Okay, so whatever the tag name is that tag name you should have to define in the style sheet. So here you can see, here H1 tag is there and here H2 tag is there. So for that, suppose you want to apply the style. So for that you have to write the name as it is as a tag name. So here H1 is the element and here you are writing the H1 that as a selector. Okay, so here you can see the color is blue. Okay, so here whenever you are going to execute the styles, so at that time what will happen? It will just execute the statement in which the whatever the content that is written in the heading 1, that should be in the blue color. Got it? So this is the element selector. Okay, before starting the ID selector, let's see the element selector. Okay, so here you can see this is the file in which I have defined the element selector. Okay, so here the simple HTML document in head portions we have defined this style sheet. This is the type of the internal style sheet. So I have defined the internal style sheet. Okay, so here you can see here H1 and H2 tag is there. Okay, here just remove this because this is the grouping selector that we will see later on. Okay, so here you can see the H1 selector is there. After that again define the H2 selector. Okay, so in this H2 selector, suppose I want to define the color of this, the content that is written in the H2 tag, that should be in the color blue. So what you will do? Color, colon, a blue. Okay, so like this way, H2. Okay, so here you can see the three tags are there, that is H1, H2 and H3. H3 will be normal, H1 will be in the font family Courier and the color is red, and the H2 in the color blue. So let's execute this practical, just save this and just execute this, so you will get a better idea about the element selector. So let's see. So here you can see this font is in Courier. It is in the red color, and for the second one we have applied the blue color, and third one is the normal. Okay, so like this way you can apply the element selector. If you want to apply for the P tag, division tag, then also it is possible. You just have to define that particular tag name as a selector. Now let's see the ID selector. Okay, the ID selector is used to specify the style for a single unique element. Okay, so whenever you are going to say define the style for a single unique element, so at that time you can use the ID selector. ID selector uses the ID attribute of the HTML element and it is defined with the hash in a CSS. Okay, so the style rule below will be applied to the element with the ID is equal to para1. So here let's see. So for example, here I have given the H1 ID is equal to para1 and here it is a hello friends. So how to define this CSS? So here you have to write the hash sign, and after that you have to write the para1. So whenever you are going to access it, you should have to use it with the ID attribute. ID is equal to para1. Got it? Then here your this output will be in the blue color, as we have applied this para1 to the h1 tag and the hello friends is there in the h1. So hello friends will be there in the blue color. Okay, so let's see the output for this. Okay, so here what we have to do, here just we have to add the hash, and here just give the name as HED1, like this way. Same way here give the name that is HED2. Okay, so like this way you can apply the styles to the ID. So for that what you have to do, here in the H1 tag, what you have to do, ID is equal to what we have given the name, that is head1. Okay, and here in the H2 tag, suppose I am not applying it in H2 tag, suppose I am applying in the H3 tag. So ID is equal to head2. Got it? And just save this document and just execute the practical. So see here the H2 content in the H2, it is in normal form. Here this is the heading one, and here the third one is in the form of the how are you. Got it? So like this way you can use the ID selector. Now next one is the class selector. The class selector is used to specify a style for a group of the elements. The class selector uses the HTML class attribute and is defined with a dot in a CSS. ID that is defined within the hash and the class that is defined within the dot. So here you can see, suppose this is the HTML document in which I have assigned h1 class is equal to my class, here hello friends, in the h1 tag, and again in the another h1 tag how are you, and another h1 tag class is equal to my class how are you. So let's see, here you can see dot my class color blue. So this my class color blue will be applied to this h1 tag and this h1 tag. It will not apply to this because we are not using the element selector, we are using the class selector that you have to specify specifically in the tag. Got it? So this will be the output. This will be the output, that hello friends and how are you in the blue color, and this how are you in the normal font. Okay, so let's see the output for this, how we are able to apply the class selectors. So see here, in place of this hash, what you have to use? You have to use this dot. Okay. So here, suppose I am writing the another content that is in the p tag, and I am writing, sorry, CLASS class is equal to head1. Okay. This is para for testing CSS selector. Okay. And here we have just removed the ID, so that's why remove ID from here, and here just remove ID from here and use the ID, use the class head2 over here. Got it? Just change the color here. In place of red, just write the green, and in place of courier, write the Arial. Okay, so just save the spectacle and execute this. So here you can see. Okay, so here we have applied it in green color. So just see over here, first style head1, in which the font family is a Arial and color is a green. That head1 we have applied to the P class. Okay, so here you can see in P class it is in a green color and it is in the font Arial. Okay, and then next here in H1 we have applied the class head2, that is in the color blue. So that is in the normal font that is normally traditionally executed by this browser. So here you can see it is in the blue color and these two are in the normal form. Okay, so like this way you can use this class selector. Then next one is the universal selector. So universal selector, that means what? Universal selector is used as a wildcard character. It selects all the elements on the pages. Okay, so whatever the content that you have defined on the pages, that will be selected. So here you can see the H1, H2 and pay tag is there. So here I have applied the star color green. So that means this is a universal selector. So whenever you are going to execute that, all the elements will be assigned with the style that is color green. So everything will be displayed in the color green. Okay, so that is known as the universal selector. So let's see the output for this. So here you can see in place of this, uh, suppose I am writing here star, in which I am writing this suppose I want the font family, that is Arial, or just use the see here, this universal style is applied to each and every element. I have just defined the font family, that is courier, and that is in the star, that is in the wildcard character, and rest of it as it is. So here I have used the class selector, that is as it is also, and still I have applied this star selector, that is a universal selector. That means font family is courier. So here you can see the output, in output each and every font that is displayed in the courier. So like this way you can apply the universal selector for displaying the style sheet. Now next one is the grouping selector. So the grouping selector is used to select all the elements with the same style definition. Okay, so if you want the multiple selectors which have the same style, so at that time you can use this grouping selector. Grouping selector is used to minimize the code, commas are used to separate each selectors in the grouping. So let's see the CSS code without the group selector. So what will happen? So here suppose you want to assign this style, that is a text align center color blue for H1, H2 and P text. So if you are not using the grouping selector, you should have to write the 3 times. Okay, so as you can see, you need to define the CSS property for all the elements and it can be grouped in the following ways. So what you have to do, you just have to use the comma to separate this element and you can use this grouping selector. Okay, so text align colon center and color blue. Got it? So this styles will be assigned to the each and every element that we have defined over here. So for H1, for H2 and for P, it will be defined. So let's see the output for this. So here you can see, suppose I want to assign this green color to this H1 tag, then to the H2 tag, and then to the P tag. Okay, so this is the color green. So that I am going to apply to each and every element. Okay, so here just remove this class element, class selectors, and suppose I am assigning the new style, that is text align center. Just save this and here you can see the font family will be courier, that is universal selector that will be applied to each and every element, and here you can see the color green and text align center. Okay, so this will be applied again. So let's see the output for this. So see here, this is the heading hello and this is the para for testing CSS selector. Okay, so here you can see here H3 is not affected. Why? H3 is just affected by this courier and here we have not defined H3. So that's why this style will be applied to the H1, H2 and P. So this is heading 1 and hello and this is para for the testing. So for this only this will be applied. So see here, got it? Okay, so like this way you can use this different types of selectors for defining the style sheet. Okay, so here you can see that we have used and we have grouped together. So in this video, we have learned about the different types of the CSS selectors. Okay, so thank you for watching. We will meet in the next lecture with a new topic. Thank you.